So we are back with part 2 of the 3DSs I got the other day. All with problems, wouldn't turn on, wouldn't charge, la-di-da-da. So this one charged, powered on fine, once I put the battery in it of course. But the top screen, bit worse for wear, digitizer, well out of whack. So just gonna pair it up, see what we can do, what can't it do, so we know what to fix when opening it up. Standard power on sequence here, asking all the right questions. Whack some games in, see how it takes some games, hey? GBA there, DS in the back. And didn't like either of them. That's right. Add that to the list of things we need to look at. Let's check. Yep, that digitizer is well out of whack. Well out of whack. Good news is all the buttons definitely seem to be working. So that's always a bonus. May as well crack her open. Get the battery out. We'll start by getting all the screws out. Need the Phillips head and the tri-wing for this. Speed it up a little bit. It's not the most exciting thing in the world to open one of these. Screws are out. Crack open the cover. Shoulder buttons off. Wi-Fi antenna out with the board. Microphone undone. And get the board out. So I'm just going to test it with a good screen first to make sure that it's definitely the top screen in that shell that's playing up. Yep, that screen works. So we know top shell with the hinge, top screen, both buggered, and the digitizer. So power that off again with new top screen into a new top cover and go from there. So I've ended up just using a completely different top shell that I had sitting around because that other one was covered in stickers which were a pain to get off. And I'll just put the new top screen in that top shell and rebuild it. I think it will turn out better than the other one. So I'm just getting the new screen out now. We'll take the speakers off the old screen, put them onto the new screen. Bob's your auntie on that. The old soldering iron warmed up. Old speakers off. Bit of flux. Bit of solder. Got those speakers. Yeah, if you do forget which way the speakers go, I don't know if you can see it, but there is actually little plus and minus symbols on the screen ribbon cable there, so it'll tell you the positive and negative. But yeah, you know, it's not too hard, I guess. A little bit of solder, those cables connected. Happy days. About to put the new digitizer on. Brand newy. AliExpress special. Pretty cheap. Couple bucks. So we'll take the old digitizer off. Spudger or something like that to get under the adhesive on that current digitizer. All the way around. Nice and slowly. Being careful not to scratch the screen below. Take the protective film off. At the same time, take the other digitizer off. Trying to do it in a way where I minimise the amount of dust getting caught in between the new screen, the old screen, and the new digitizer, because I don't exactly have a dust-free environment. So the new screen had some adhesive on it, so it should hold in place okay. Take the protector off. We'll start getting ready to put that onto the board again. We'll leave that old digitizer there for now because we do want the little white panel thingo off it. I'm just not going to put that on yet. I like to put that on last once it's all in, all working, so I know it's all good. Plug it in. Get it back into the shell. I'm having a little bit of difficulty. The digitizer slipped down a little bit, so I just got to push it back up and get it back in line. Looks alright. So we'll get the screws back in. Cables plugged back in. Oops. Broke the old one. I did. Broke the old one. Anyway. Doesn't matter. Not using it. Straighten that out. Stick it under. Pull it through. Wi-Fi board on. Plug her in. Battery on. Test. Beauty. We're looking pretty good here. Just going to change the bottom half of the shell too with one that looks a little bit nicer, a bit less cracked, less stickers. I just need to make sure I've got everything in place for it. It's missing a few pieces for some reason. Stylus holder and the cover that sits above the Game Boy Advance slot. They're all swapped over. Just definitely give it a little bit of a clean. In the edges of the clear coat that sits around the white piece of the shell can get pretty grubby, and so can these volume slider and the power switch. They can get a little grubby. So it's always good to give them a bit of a clean if you want it to look nice and pretty. Just going around that inner shell piece there. It's just dishwashing liquid on a rag, nothing too fancy. Something gamer gunk. Ooh, those buttons look pretty rough. Let's see if we've got any nicer buttons. Alright, got some nicer buttons. So I'll swap the little springy piece and the metal pins over. Get them reinserted. Those other shoulder buttons looked pretty icky. It's easier to swap them with a nicer pair. Back piece on. A little bit of gunk on the serial number. And around the edge of the battery housing. So we've got the battery back in. Put our little rubber hidey hole thingos back on. Hide those screws away. And the little rubber thingos over there. So those little square ones, there's adhesive on one side. Just going to make sure you put them the right way down. Same with those rectangular pieces. Now we can swap over our little frame piece off the old digitizer to the new one. Use that same spudger to pull it off. A little bit of a wipe. Look at that. Digitizer working and quite accurate now. Haven't even calibrated it yet. It's definitely looking better than what it did before. Pretty happy with that. That is the actual date and time for me as well. Fun fact for you. Just make sure we calibrate that new digitizer. Turn off this auto game card stuff. Don't need that. Silly. Digitizer. Do it. Perfect. Perfect. It's good. That's what I like to see. Whack some games in. See if it can read some games now. Game Boy Advance. Perfect. Let's put a little bit of contact cleaner in there. And look at that. DS games, perfect. We'll just check this digitizer. It's definitely a lot better than what it was. Shoulder buttons working. Internal buttons working. This one seems to be a bit of a success compared to the last one. Which proved quite difficult with all that small soldering, but anyway. I'm going to call this one fixed. Happy days. I'll see you in the next video.